Hey, I'm Father Roderick, and in this episode about Chapter 6 of The Mandalorian, The Prisoner, I will tell you what I think is the real reason why the Mandalorian never takes his helmet off, and it may be something different from what you think. Secondly, I will tell you the secret about the Razor Crest. This is not just a ship. This ship has a secret, and it has to do with the identity of the Mandalorian. And then thirdly, I will tell you why Baby Yoda and the Mandalorian are starting to look alike more and more every episode. And I'm not talking about the green ears. Take a moment to subscribe to this channel and to hit the bell button so you will be notified about my next video. And that is going to be my spoiler-free initial reaction to Star Wars: The Rise of Skywalker. I'm going to the red carpet premiere in Amsterdam tonight, and I want to share my initial impression with you. So hit that subscribe button. Chapter 6 of The Mandalorian is all about the true identity of the Mandalorian. And it has to do with something that we all know from school reunions. I don't know about you, but I always have very ambivalent feelings about these school reunions. Of course, it's cool to go back and see people that you haven't seen for decades, but I'm also always a little bit wary. Are they going to recognize me? Or are they still going to see me like the little boy that I was so much time before? Will they even care about who I have become? The same problem happens with the diaper syndrome. It's when your parents don't really see how much you have changed, but they will still see in you that little boy or girl that they changed the diapers of. And so they will not always listen to you. They will not always take your advice because they can't separate the person that you are right now from the one that you used to be. And especially in teenage years, that can be very frustrating. This is a running theme in Chapter 6 of The Mandalorian. So he goes to this old friend of him, or old partner in crime, because he needs some money and he needs a job. And this old partner in crime keeps reminiscing about the good old days when they would do, well, all these crimes together. But what he doesn't seem to acknowledge is how much the Mandalorian has changed in all those years. The same is true for at least one member of this team that he encounters and with whom he's going to do this heist, trying to liberate a prisoner from a prisoner ship. The Twi'lek girl looks at him and is that still you underneath that mask? She knows him from maybe the time that he didn't wear the Mandalorian armor. And constantly, this team is trying to force him to take his helmet off, sometimes even violently. And the Mandalorian resists. Why? He doesn't want to be judged on the basis of what he looks like, but he wants to be judged on the basis of his actions. And the more he works with this team, the more he realizes how much he truly has changed. He used to be just like them, but in the meantime, he is a totally different person. This whole effort of the team to force the Mandalorian to take his helmet off is basically messaging him, we don't believe that you have changed. We want you to go back to the person that you used to be before you started all this, religious stuff. And of course, the Mandalorian can't, because he is no longer that person. And it's very frustrating when people do that, when they constantly tell you, oh, you won't be able to change anything. You are not going to change. You will always be the same person, and nothing that you will undertake in the future will ever work because, you failed in the past. It is refusing people the ability to grow. This is just like the apostles refusing to trust Paul after his conversion on the way to Damascus. So Paul was called Saul in his early years, and he was persecuting the early Christians. So no wonder that everyone was afraid of him. But on the way to Damascus, he met Christ and converted, became a new person with a new name. From now on, he's called Paul. But the apostles at first are like, well, can we truly trust him? And it takes time to rebuild that trust and to truly see that Paul is no longer the persecutor that he used to be. All the people in this episode want to pin down the Mandalorian based on who he used to be. But that is not how the Force works. You can't do that. It's your choices and your actions that determine and define who you are, not the helmet, not the costume. And if there's one message that Star Wars wants to make clear, is this belief, like Luke says to Darth Vader in The Return of the Jedi, the belief that there is still good in you. You are not just who you've become so far. There is still an opportunity for you to change and to choose the light side. People can change because they have free will. I think the two ships in this episode actually symbolize these two sides of the medal. First of all, you've got this prisoner ship. That is, to me, I think in this episode, a symbol of what the team tries to do to the Mandalorian. They try to imprison him in his past. They want to confine him to their preconceptions. And the Razor Crest also has a secret. The Razor Crest is not just the Mandalorian ship, but it's also a symbol of the Mandalorian himself. The Razor Crest is pre-imperial, which means you can't put it in a category. It basically is free as a bird. And behind this scruffy-looking exterior, one of the team members says it looks like a Canto Bight slot machine. Inside, there is a hidden strength, there is a hidden power. And what defines the Razor Crest is its actions, and that is made clear by who's at the steering wheel. So you have the droid who is using the Razor Crest, and it becomes a tool for crime, or you have the Mandalorian taking the helm of the Razor Crest, and then the ship all of a sudden is a safe harbor, is a vessel that protects Baby Yoda and helps him escape from his persecutors. Speaking of Baby Yoda, or the child as he is officially called, the child is, I think, the ultimate symbol of freedom in this episode. He is not intimidated by violence or threats, but he has this inner strength, the Force, that gives him ultimate freedom. And that is why he's able to escape the droid who's trying to kill him or to abduct him. And it's precisely that inner freedom of the child that reminds Mando of his own freedom when he was still a child, when his entire future was still open. And in a way, Baby Yoda reminds him that it's not too late, that he can change, that he can regain his freedom. And that is why I think that Baby Yoda, the child, and the Mandalorian are starting to resemble each other more and more. In the end, all his so-called friends are betraying Mando and betraying and also threatening the foundation of his change, Baby Yoda. And that's when the Mandalorian takes charge. He will not be defined by the actions of his teammates. He puts them where they belong, behind bars. And the two guys on the base ship, they get what they deserve as well. They get the tracker, and when they're on the verge of launching this attack ship to shoot down the Razor Crest, that signals the X-Wing fighters that this is a threat and it should be eliminated. So evil punishes itself. Another indication that we get that the Mandalorian has changed is that he doesn't kill the other teammates, as the episode seems to suggest, but he puts them behind bars, so he is kind of merciful to them. So tonight I'm going to be at a red carpet premiere of Star Wars The Rise of Skywalker in Amsterdam, and I'm going to see my friends of the Dutch Garrison, which is the Dutch division of the 501st. These are fans, Star Wars fans, that dress up as stormtroopers, Darth Vader, Darth Maul, and sometimes people behind their back are snickering. It's like, these uber nerds, isn't it pathetic to dress up like fictional characters? But what those critics don't see is the good that these people do. I know from their personal stories how much they brighten up the lives of children in hospitals, how they raise money for charity, how much they spend their free time into helping others. Their slogan has everything to do with the message of Star Wars and the message of this episode of The Mandalorian. The slogan of the 501st is, "Bad guys doing good." It's your actions that define you, not your costume. And that is what Star Wars is all about. May the Force be with you, and I will see you soon.